Okay, well I finally got my cross member for the Model A frame. It's still got frame sections welded to it. Wherever I get it from, obviously just cut off the frame. And everything's welded together rather than being riveted. So I got to cut this apart and clean it up. It also has a couple tiny cracks there. I got to gouge out, re-weld, fix everything up. The other thing they did is, I don't know if you can see right there, should be a flange that would come out towards us. They've cut off. You can get it so it's not, there we go, right there. But I'll have lots of material from the frame rail itself. I'll just weld a tab back on there. I think there might be another rivet that goes in that. And hopefully, if everything goes well, I'm going to rivet it back together. But these holes are bigger than the stock holes. So now, whether I can rivet or not, oh, finger, we'll see. So I'm going to get started on this. There we go, I got those pieces of frame rail removed. Now I just got to swap out my discs, grind that off smooth. And yes, they did drill those out bigger. So now I got to rethink what I'm doing. So I'm going to switch discs. Oh, actually before I change, I might grind that out first, so I can weld that and get good penetration into it. Hi guys, welcome to Campbell's shop today. I'm actually in my shop at work right now. I'm going to continue working on this Model A cross member. The other day I removed the little bit of frame that was still welded to this. So now I'm going to finish grinding out the cracks. There's a few cracks in this frame. The other side that I could easily get at, I did with a grinder the other day. Let me just flip you guys over. You can see here where I ground out the cracks with the grinder. Anything I could get at, I ground out that way. And this will be at least the third frame that this cross member's been in. It was taken out of something else at one point, put into the one where whoever I got it from, where they cut off the little pieces of frame rail a little bit on either end of it. And when they did it, when they took it apart originally, there's big cuts here on both sides from where they've been using cutting disc and cut right into that. So I'm going to weld those up as well. I ground them out. I'll fill up the gap just to fill it so there's no big chance of a crack or anything happening later, and make it as good as we can while we're at it. So what I got to do today, flip this over on the back side there, and you probably can't see them. You can right, where's my finger? Right there. You can still see the cracks there a little bit. So I couldn't get a grinding disc down in there because it's too deep, or at least the one I had on the grinder. So all I'm going to do is take the die grinder, just gouge that out a bit. I'm fairly deep from the other side, so I should probably get almost full penetration just coming from that side. But I want to make sure it's completely 100% solid. And this little piece here was displaced somewhat up. So the other day I did pound it back down into place. So I'm just going to grind that out and then weld up all the little spots where we've ground out, and she should be pretty solid. And I will see you in a minute. There was one other thing I wanted to mention before I move on, something else I got to do to this. You can see right here, on both ends, they cut off where there was a tab that got riveted to the frame. So I saved the two old pieces of frame that I cut off the end of it. So I'm going to actually just use the angle of it, put a piece of little on here, just come out nice and square where I can drill a hole at the right spot and refasten that back together. I plan to rivet it back together, but if you notice, these holes have all been bored out a lot bigger than the 1/4 inch they originally were. And the other thing is, at the top, they're tapered like a countersunk rivet. I don't have any countersunk ones. So I may, for the tops at least, bolt them for now. I don't want to weld it. The way the guys that I got this from, the way it was welded together, it looked terrible. If I do put any weld on it, I want it to be hidden so it still looks pretty stock. All the cracks are now all filled up. There's no more cracks. Welded from both sides, ground flush, especially the other side because the spring's going to sit there. Everything on the corners, it's all filled in, welded up, ground flush, both ends. So everything that way is done. The last thing I got to do here is reattach a tab. Reattach a tab right there where it was cut off when it was taken apart at some point in its history. I'm thinking the guy cut it off when he cut these sections of frame rail off with it. So I assume the rest of the frame was crap. When he's selling the cross member, he just cut forward and aft. And I think he cut too close and cut those tabs off. So what I did is the other one of these, which is where right here, I cut 2 1.5 by 1.5 squares out of it, so it's still Model A steel, and it's the same thickness as what we got. I may have to trim them up, and I'll definitely round off the corners later, but she's fitted up close there. The tab where it was cut, I measured it, is 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to weld these in. I get it clamped up because it's going to be flush with the rivet hole on that side. Get a bar under it, everything clamped so it's all on the same plane. And it should work. I'll let you know. Yeah, there we go. We get the tabs welded on. Back where they should be. I'll have to, once I get it installed in the car, drill it where it needs to be drilled. I'll just line it up with the hole in the frame. But I assumed stock, they probably wouldn't have had nice sharp corners on them. So I did take the corner off with a zip cut and take the flapper disc, ground it out. And I ground out the inside of the weld here so it does look like it's original and bent. If you look real close, you can make out the weld. You can see the edge of it right there if I get in real close. But for the close enough as we've been going on this frame, that's good enough. So now this is ready to go. I hope it's ready to go into the frame. I may take a wire wheel and clean all the rust off at first, but we'll see. But right now I know this step is done. Next part will be back out in the other shop, putting this between the frame rails. Let's see how it goes. Until next time, have a great day, and don't forget to, wear your safety glasses. Have a great day, guys. Okay, I couldn't just walk away and go home without sticking it in the frame rails. Having a hard time talking. So there it is, sitting where it's going to sit. Pretty close. Oh, squeak. There's the rest of the frame. Stock center cross member sitting there. The rear cross member is somewhere. I think on the floor, just on the other side, or maybe sitting on those. Oh yeah, it's sitting on those chairs, just beyond the table. So we're getting there. Step 1 done.